Our next guest is an NFL Network reporter. You can follow him on Twitter at Wyche89. He's always one of our favorite NFL insiders to have on. You can see him on NFL Network's The Aftermath today at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Steve Wyche joining us. Steve, good morning.
DA, my brother, good morning. How's everything?
It's great, man. It's great to have you back on the show. Thanks so much for dropping on by. And we were starting this conversation this hour with Mike McCarthy. This is something that the Packers do very rarely. What motivated the Packers to make the firing yesterday?
Yeah, I think clearly the shadow of Mike McCarthy's future was hanging over the team. They're losing. It's very dour there. So I think management, or Mark Murphy, the team president, basically was like, you know what, let's go ahead and make this move now so we don't have to deal with it over the next 4 weeks. Coming into the season, I heard from people up in Green Bay that this was a very, very important season for Mike McCarthy. They changed the structure of the front office and the management hierarchy. They got rid of a lot of very influential people in the front office, and there was a whole different vibe there. And Mike McCarthy was kind of the one significant holdover. And so if things really didn't change, then he was in jeopardy. And we saw that play out with all the consistent losing and just the real kind of just un-Packers-like vibe that had really kind of surfaced and kind of lingered over the season.
So how much responsibility do you think falls on McCarthy's shoulders for what happened this year? Because Rodgers hasn't played his normal scintillating self every single week, and there are other problems with the Packers. How much of this is on McCarthy's coaching in your mind?
A lot of it is on McCarthy, and it's not just the coaching. You know, there were some people I've spoken to who said that they even told McCarthy, hey, you've got to change some of the things you're doing because you're being looked at differently, and apparently he didn't. And, you know, it seemed like some of the people in the building kind of got the message, and he didn't. So some of that's on him. But, you know, let's get away from this narrative of, hey, they're wasting, you know, Aaron Rodgers. They're not doing enough to support him. Yeah, there is some truth to that. But, look, as a football player, sometimes you got to go out there and play football. And clearly the talent on that team isn't as good as we thought. Aaron Rodgers has not played as well as we thought. Some of that goes to Mike McCarthy, but some of that goes to the players and the coaching staff as well. It is not solely on Mike McCarthy.
Steve Wyche joins us, NFL Network. Do you think Mike McCarthy is a desirable candidate for another head coaching job in the offseason?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one thing that Mike McCarthy will do is he will help bring kind of structure and balance and sanity into a building. A team I've heard that, you know, would be, I don't know if it's McCarthy, you know, showing interest or whatever. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, that's a team that kind of needs some stability in that building and one that could pique McCarthy's interest. I've also heard in the immediate aftermath is that things have really taken a toll on Mike McCarthy, and at this moment, he really might not be necessarily wanting to jump into the water. He may want to take a year off, but he's got some time now to kind of figure out his next move. But he will be a very sought-after head coach, much in the way Andy Reid was when Andy and the Eagles parted ways.
Well, speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, they parted ways with Kareem Hunt over the weekend. What do you think the effect is going to be on the playoffs? I mean, they end up winning yesterday against a bad Raiders team, but this is about trying to get to a Super Bowl. Do you think the loss of Kareem Hunt will negatively affect them trying to get there?
It could. I mean, but this wasn't a team that, you know, relied solely on Kareem Hunt. He put up a lot of yards. He did a lot of fantastic things. He's a fantastic player. But we haven't really been talking about Kareem Hunt. The narrative's in Pat Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. So, yeah, I mean, not having Kareem Hunt there allows defenses to game plan a little differently, but I don't think this necessarily puts a damper on what the Chiefs are doing. I think more so teams like the Los Angeles Chargers and the way that they've played this season could be more of a hindrance, you know, to what's going on there. But yeah, the Kareem Hunt thing, you know, it's clearly got a foul taste in that organization, and losing him as a player will hurt, but I do think they're still going to continue to be a very good football team.
Steve Wyche joins us, NFL Network. So the Ravens have ripped off 3 straight wins since installing Lamar Jackson, and this was around the time that we had heard reports that John Harbaugh and the Ravens were going to part ways after the season. The Ravens make this run, go into the playoffs, win a playoff game or two. Are they still saying goodbye to John Harbaugh after the year?
Great question. I don't see it. And look, the John Harbaugh stuff is true. I mean, I've had conversations with people that even coming into the season, there was a good chance Harbaugh could be gone because Ozzie Newsome's retiring, Joe Flacco's in the last year of his deal. It could be kind of a clean sweep with Harbaugh. But, we have to think about, we keep talking about coaches getting fired. Who is going to replace them? And if you can't find anybody better than John Harbaugh, who's a damn good coach, then you don't move him. I mean, just to change is one thing. But if you young quarterback, whose team is kind of rallying around him, you've got to give that coach a couple more years to say, hey, look, we could have something special here. Maybe that was the part, the quarterback position is the part that needed to be changed and not the head coach.
Did you feel as though the Steelers, with a 2-touchdown lead last night at home at halftime, beat themselves in the second half, or was that a great Chargers team, or at least a very good Chargers team, doing the beating?
Well, it's a very good Chargers team, but I thought the Steelers the Steelers got beat. I'll put it this way. The Steelers got beat in the second half. The Chargers put it on them. I mean, the Chargers made some defensive adjustments. Offensively, they got the running game going a little bit, and they played the type of football they're capable of playing. That said, the Steelers didn't play up to what they're capable of playing. I mean, the Chargers have not beat. The knock on the Chargers this year is they've not beaten a good team. They're incredibly talented, but to let the Chargers come back and get rolling, the Steelers kind of opened up a trap door to let the rest of the league know that the Chargers are for real under those circumstances. And, just not kind of having that offensive consistency. And I attribute a lot, to Gus Bradley and that Chargers defense making the appropriate changes. So I got to give the Chargers some credit here. I know a lot of Steelers fans are upset because there were some blown calls. I mean, that false start that allowed a touchdown for the Chargers. That was a big play. But at the same time, you can't let, a punt return go for a touchdown and things like that and claim that the refs blew it for you.
Texans have ripped off 9 straight wins. I think America is largely split. Do we take the Texans seriously despite 9 straight wins? Are you taking them seriously as a contender?
Hell yeah. I mean, you don't win 9 games in the NFL by being lucky. Sure, you can play teams with not great records, but it's a fine line between good and bad in the NFL. 9 straight victories, that takes a mental focus that's very, very hard to construct and maintain. And the fact that, Deshaun Watson is playing so well right now, and that defense is playing so well, and they're coming together at the right time, I think this is a very legitimate team. Now, can they go to Foxborough and win if they had to? I don't know. There's not many teams out there I think that can, but I think they are a very, very dangerous football team heading into the playoffs.
Steve Wyche, NFL Network reporter. You can follow him on Twitter at Wyche89. You can also see Steve on NFL Network's The Aftermath. That happens today at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on NFL Network, The Aftermath. Steve, you've always been very generous with your time and very kind with your thoughts here on the show, so I want to appreciate that, tell you thank you for that. Have a wonderful holiday season to you and the Wyche family, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again in 2019, bud.
You as well, DA. All the best.
All right, man. Steve Wyche joining us here on the DA Show on CBS Sports Radio.